Oh, so I spent pretty much all day today. Let's see. Yeah, good. Sorry, just making sure the recording's working. I spent the entire day today going through all the AWS services, and they had let's see, it's called AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. IT Pro TV had probably like a 10-hour course. Yeah, that was a lot of hours. It's just like a very good overview of everything. In terms of difficulty, I'd say it's very beginner level. Um, as long as you have a general knowledge of how the internet works, like, hey, what's a cloud, and some basic networking. Um, if you're going to get into this, I'd probably suggest you're just getting out of the Network Plus certification, just because a lot of the knowledge that happens with that has been translating really well. I haven't gotten a huge, robust, solid understanding of all the nuances of networking and stuff, because I got a pretty high level and quick overview. But I understood it enough that I understand the concepts and um, like how stuff fits in my head. Like, all right, so this feature is required because of this reason, and just getting all those buckets filled in my head was the key part. Next step for me would have been to start just learning the actual memorizing the definitions, the proper definitions for things. I just haven't started on that yet. The things like console and stuff was really good. Learning all the console commands and like doing stuff manually. I think IT Pro TV did it really well with layer 3 switches, where everything was not GUI based. Everything was forcing you to go through the console and understanding how the console reacts to things. That's something I've been having trouble with some of my virtual machines. I feel like I've just been doing so much with virtual machines lately, because yeah, there's just so many little things that like break on virtual machines, which it seems like Google. I mean, the AWS certification is their platform is really good with oversimplicity. Um, it's very similar to the way Cisco is. You just check off a box essentially, as long as you know what you're doing and what that box means, you'll be doing just fine. When I was reading some of the first chapters of the Google certification, that was a headache. Like, it makes the Amazon networking one seem like super easy. At least in the first few chapters I read. I only read like the first 100 chapters first 200 pages of the first two of those two textbooks. So I don't have a good comparative analysis yet, but we'll get there. I just gotta compartmentalize. I'm really just trying to focus right now and trying to figure out the best direction. I wonder if there is a test for the practitioner. I'm doubting it. Well, yeah, I guess that it probably is, because there's one for the CompTIA certification, which was pretty simple and straightforward. But yeah, so I got through all the practitioner stuff. They just did one of the high level overview. I ordered one of the textbooks used, actually. I don't think it's gonna be here for another a week or two. I don't know. I'll have to look at my order for that. But the networking one's coming in, so I guess I'm just gonna continue reading the networking book and just, who cares about actually going simple? Do the IT Pro TV certification for the practitioner, but I figured if I could do it, like, networking one didn't seem too complicated. Sorry, I'm yawning so much. I'm really tired. It's midnight here. I've been doing this for all day. On top of I finally got my Mac OS Hackintosh running. I tried all the best practices that people were giving me, and like was following the guides exactly how the other guys were providing me, and it got to a point where like I'm like, okay, I have to actually brute force this, and so I eventually got Unibeast to boot up enough for things to work. Um, and then I just had to go back and once I started getting some error messages, started taking some of the information that I was getting from some guides and like best practices on booting processes and stuff and things that you need to make sure you're watching out for. I go through and just I'm like, oh yeah, I know this one was a part of the guide. The guy that I had was the guy was actually Chinese, so like it wasn't in English. But luckily, keywords were had commonalities. So I'd grab some of his stuff that he was doing, and then I would add on some of the error messages that I was seeing, and then I would have to go and fix those error messages and figure out how to do that. But yeah, the next step. I need to finish installing the boot partition. So once you've gotten the USB installer fixed and everything, you're supposed to actually. They don't usually mention this in the guides, which is crazy, but you basically have to reinstall the Clover software into your the EFI partition of your hard drive, and then that's how that works. There's a bunch of so when you're setting it up, though, you have basically three different subjects you have to consider. Are you on legacy or UEFI BIOS setup for your computer? Most modern computers probably say like 2313, 2014 or newer. You're probably going to be on a UEFI, and it's best to run it that way. Though you can maximize your features and settings and things like that. That's just speculation. I haven't studied enough BIOS software to really care to know. Everything's using UEFI nowadays, so I'm not gonna worry about legacy stuff too much, unless it's really needed. I forgot to check that other thing. So when you're setting things up, so you have to figure out. The second part is the boot drivers, essentially, and exceptions that you have to create using your boot software. Let's see if I bring up. Yeah, the boot software was a key part, and like it basically, so there's a configuration file that just had some basic programming of yes or no, or true or false for certain features, and they just built the prerequisites in that side of that configuration file. Same with like the CPU, the computer ID, and all that stuff, because you have to trick Apple into thinking that it's an actual computer. So the most common one was the version 14.2 for the iMac, which was basically a 2013. I chose that specific one because it was right around the time of my computer. I have a 2014 M93P Think Center. That one, the iMac was a slightly previous generation, but the clock speed and the Core i5 was the same, so that made it a lot easier to line things up. And then you had these kext files, KEXT, I believe is what it was. What they did is they're basically your driver software, like actual driver software. So what the programmers I think were doing is they grab pre-existing Apple drivers and then translate that into your drivers somehow. I guess if you have a big enough data set, enough people are programming for that stuff, that it makes it work just fine. Which is pretty great. I'll be honest, like I've been compared to after doing the Hackintosh, like this AWS stuff is almost on autopilot for me. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be able to get through the first. It's just a matter of just putting the work in. I'm probably just need to put 40 or 50 hours into the AWS stuff, and as long as everything clicks in my head enough, I think I'll be just fine passing everything. The problem is, like, the test I saw was $300, which is crazy. And then, let's see, the other one. So I think the next one is the architect associate, was the definition that they were using. Yeah, solutions architect, and then yeah, solutions architect. I think it was a 40-hour course. Let's see. No, that one's only 20 hours. There's a part after that, though, so you have an associate part, and then you have an administrator part. I'm not sure completely what the difference between the two are right now. But anyways, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward in comparison to the Cisco exam. The Cisco stuff is a lot more dense and more legacy stuff. So far, the AWS stuff has just been, this is a feature, it's great. This is the typical use cases for it, and it just depends on your business and your business needs if you're going to be using that, and then if you're not, just don't pay for it. So it makes it really simplified and efficient, you know. It just depends on how much money you're willing to spend and how much money you need to spend. I think you need to, I can definitely see why there's so many companies doing the in between businesses and cloud, just because you were basically making it so that businesses don't have to have a data architect, or not a data architect, but basically a maintenance guy taking care of the machines. You don't have to have someone babysitting them, because it just doesn't make sense anymore. Yeah, it's kind of, I guess if you look at long-term specs, it's kind of expensive, but at the same time, you don't have to deal with any downtime, period. And data loss isn't a thing. And since it's not on premises, you're not going to have to deal with people physically getting into your building and attacking your data, because all your data is stored in the cloud and encrypted. So if they steal laptops and stuff like that, none of that's stored locally, because you're just using virtual machines with Windows or Linux. So your laptops and stuff are just portals, which makes it nice, because then you don't have to actually have expensive laptops. So you could probably get away with almost Chromebooks. Probably wouldn't be recommended, but I'm just saying, like, you can really just make the laptop part of it be really cheap, and just have people basically have console portals, like screens and stuff, which is nice, because then you don't have to upgrade that part of it as much. That's not an expense. And then if they do break, you're not out thousands of dollars because they needed a giant workstation to take care of all their stuff they're needing. Instead, you can just give them a portal to AWS, and then just pay for it on the back end, get approvals, and then probably do it late at night when when the peak time is low, because of the way their computational network works is really genius, and how they basically treat it like an electric company. They have peak hours and they have non-peak hours, and on peak hours you get discounts. Peak hours are probably going to go back up to normal rates. So if you're uploading like terabytes of data, and are needing to crunch some numbers that aren't urgent, you could easily just wait on that pretty easily. But yeah, I'm glad it's all clicking really easily for me. It's helped that I've been doing data architecting a lot, because I tend to just hoard data, and it logistically it makes sense in my head. Hierarchical nature of the way data works and things like that. Like, all right, this is where this data is stored. This is how we need to back it up. This is how we should have things redundant. This is stuff I've been thinking about for years, with Google Cloud, especially now that I have 3 Google accounts, actually, but I don't really use one of them because it was one I was set up a while ago. But anyways, I have a personal Google account, and then I have my work one I essentially use for all my homework and stuff. because with my G Suite certification, I went through all the. It's kind of like an Azure, and Google has a pretty good setup where you basically just pay $12 per user and they get unlimited access to everything. You can create groups and user groups. You can create Google Drive folders that are restricted to certain groups, so the other people can't see them necessarily. You can create, just limited access to things like password resets. They have they actually have a password manager app where you can just manage your employees from the app. So if your employee's like, hey, I need to have my password reset, it's like 2 buttons from your phone and then you're done. It's not a huge deal, especially if you're the manager for that group. Like, you already know who that person is, so you don't have to validate them in any way. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much how Microsoft Azure is going to be. Is it Active Directory? Yeah, Active Directory. I don't have Active Directory set up right now, but I have set up the Apple server stuff. Basically, it's a similar process where you just have a giant net of user accounts that link up to it and then communicate down from there. You can set up all sorts of things, like have an auto reset to a certain default. My one at work right now at Target, they have the profile set up so that it allows caching, so it doesn't auto reset as long as you're on that specific computer. It stores some stuff locally that you've saved, but if they do decide to reset things, it will just wipe all your settings out, which is fine. I think that's pretty close to how my school had their stuff set up. It was really basic for my school because I broke into it and changed things, but that was fun. I really wish they would have encouraged kids who were not so much mischievous, but they were just curious to do that kind of, like, hey, you're actually really good with this stuff. Would you like to see if we can get you specialized? But that's public schools for you. They don't really care about you as long as they get you through school. Yeah, I'm just glad I got Mac OS running. The next project I'm going to probably do for that is I want to create a custom box for it. Yeah, make a custom box for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just because, it already has its own box, but how cool would it be to have your own custom Apple box? Let's see. Anyways, so this is a box that somebody had made. They actually 3D printed this. I've been trying to figure out how to do that logistically. I kind of like the front. I'd almost be tempted to see if I can do the Mac Pro front on it, just because that'd be fun. But what I'm thinking about doing is, since I don't need the power supply part, I might be able to shorten it from just cut it off right here where the I/O shield is, because this thing is about the size of an I/O shield, and then potentially make it a little bit shorter this way as well, just so I can have access to the front ports. But if not, I might make up some ports. I don't know yet. Yeah, then in the front, I don't know if I'm going to add if I should make that a little bit wider or not, but I'd like to put a full-size 120 millimeter fan in there. I might just put it in there sideways. I remember Silverstone had a tower case where they did that, and they just made it slightly slanted. The difficult design choices are going to be figuring out a way to make it so that the board comes in and out, because that'd be really nice to be able to just have easy access to pull the I/O board out the back. That's what I did with my G5 build I did. I made it so that it just had a slide-out tray. Everything else was basically Lego pieces on top of it. Made it really easy to work on, and that was a tough build, the G5 build. But yeah, so this one I'd probably... The other thing I want to see is I want to see if I can put a standard... I don't know if I want to put an SSD in this machine. I'll probably will, just because they're so cheap nowadays. Or I might consider just putting a regular hard drive in it, or a full-sized one. But I might just do an external hard drive just because it only has one SATA port. It does have some pinouts on the inside, so I might see what those are. I know one of them's a power port, but they only have one SATA, which is strange. But we'll figure that out. The nice thing is the board seems to be a standard CPU layout, so I could actually change out the CPU pretty easily, especially with it just being Haswell. That'll be pretty easy. And then the other aspect is the mounting bracket is actually pretty standard. So I could put a standard one in there for pretty cheap, and with the case I would like to put it in, it'd make it a lot easier. If I have room at the bottom, I might just put the power plug on the inside, but I might not. That's not going to make sense just because it plugs on the outside. So that's why I can make the box a lot smaller. It's a great little PC, and it's going to work out great. I'm glad I was able to get it. Someone had donated it, and I'm just like, all right, I'll take it. And then, like, oh, this would actually make a really awesome mini PC with Hackintosh on it. And it ended up being like a 2-week project of just trying to figure out everything. Let's see, tomorrow I do work. I might read some more of that Google textbook tomorrow. I think I'm gonna have a couple hours anyways. I wonder if I'll get my textbook in by then. If I do get the physical one, I'll probably take that with me to work because I'm going to be at a booth. The reason why I don't like, I can read stuff on my phone, but it's hard on your phone screen, just having a white screen or white text on the screen because it's an OLED. But two, it's not comfortable to read something that small, and you can't mark it up very easily. My iPad's pretty much the only option for that. But anyways, I'm gonna go to bed. You guys have a great one. I'll update you later.